evening. Tonight I'm going to be talking about why we need to save our oceans. This is about the North Pacific Gyre. Picture yourself on a boat north of Hawaii, sunset going. You know, you're thinking this is fantastic, and then when you realize that underneath is one of the biggest garbage islands on the planet. Plastics and other garbage from the sea just gets swept in. It was predicted by NOAA in the 80s, and Captain Charles Moore in 1997 actually found where it's at. One of the causes of this is things like the cargo ships. They have leaks. They have, oil leaks, diesel leaks, chemical spills, etc. They also just dump garbage over the side. The other cause is single-use plastics that usually get washed into the ocean. You can start seeing things like this about 1,500 miles out from the gyre itself, the center of the gyre. Charles Moore thinks there's about 100 million tons of garbage underneath there, and it's all plastics that have been photodegraded, which is they just break down into smaller and smaller pieces, and they went diving in this, and it was just absolutely disgusting. They were coming up with pieces of plastic on their faces and all over their bodies. It was really nasty. They figure at the center of the gyre it is 1,000 to 1 plastic, garbage, whatever, to marine life. So it's like 2-liter bottles, ghost fishing nets, which are just nets that get lost, and they start wrapping up all other nets that get sucked in, and it's disgusting. There was a video done by Vice.com where they went out with Charles Moore to the gyre. It was about a 21-day trip. They were picking up garbage as they went, eating, fishing and stuff. It was just full trek, the whole trek going. They got into the gyre. They put out a skimmer that followed behind their boat, and it just kept getting worse and worse as they got into the center of the gyre. One of the side effects of the pollution, they say, there was a mention by Charles Moore about the DNA of the marlin in the Mediterranean being altered by all the pollution. Male fish were presenting or making female hormones. So it was just completely changing their DNA. The other issue that is hurting the oceans today is overfishing. We've actually lost a few reefs because of overfishing. They're completely dead. Like the Great Barrier Reef, it's still alive, thriving well. But like in, the Gulf of Mexico, there's a couple of reefs that actually have died. Completely dead. No life on them at all. The coastal waters we're starting to deplete. Things like the red snappers, the spiny dogfish, their numbers, they breed well, but we're overfishing them. We need those for the reefs themselves to keep parasites and other fish at a minimum. And if you remember my last speech, the sharks are being hunted for fins. Also, the whales are being hunted by the Japanese for food, which in this day and age, why? I mean, they need to change their eating habits badly. But with groups like the Sea Shepherd, Shark Angels, Shark Savers, we have the chance to save them. To change all this, first we need people need to see where their garbage is really going. Like I said, Vice.com, look up Garbage Island, and it will open your eyes to what's going on. They show from about 1,500 miles out when they first started taking the collections all the way to the middle, and it just kept getting worse and worse and worse. Okay, second, get involved with beach cleanups. The garbage comes washing in, and then the next tide it gets washed right back out again. And it's horrible. There's the green sand beach in Hawaii. They went there after their cruise, and it was just covered in plastics of all kinds. It was wrong. Third, support sustainable fisheries. Please don't buy farmed salmon or farmed fish in general, because it's usually worse for the environment than a lot of you think. Wild caught fish is more sustainable, better for the environment. Also, there's an app for iPhones and Androids from the Monterey Bay Aquarium called Seafood Watch, and it gives you a list of fish that are good for the environment and good, good and sustainable, and it gives you options for the worst ones. Unfortunately, I have this app, and it took away my favorite ahi tuna from me, because it's just being overfished by everybody. I mean, you can get one fish can net somebody $30,000. We also need to get our governments to start enforcing laws on the books regarding overfishing, bycatches,